Hello, good evening, everybody. I took a day off, tried to take one day off a week, and I posted because I read Ezekiel 25. I'm still doing my ordinary prayer. This is just me doing my ordinary holy hour and what I normally do and my thoughts. So, Ezekiel 25 was about punishments that the prophet prophecies against all the other nations that are gloating over Judah and Israel, who he's also proclaimed about. So, Ezekiel was a priest that in the exile he went to Babylon with all the other Israelites, all the nobles and whatnot, because they took all the important people and they gave the land to the poor people, which is significant because today is Epiphany, and Epiphany is very important to the East. It's also very significant for the promises of Christ because you see with the Christmas season, with Advent and whatnot, the Holy Family comes to the church, and Jesus Christ comes to the church in the womb of the Blessed Mother, and not literally knock on people's doors, average people that they encounter, just anybody on the road to stay and stuff like that, and everyone rejects them. And so what happens? Well, God calls in the poor. He literally fulfills the parable that he'll later say of go to the street corner and call anybody. He calls the poor shepherds. And then after that, he calls foreigners, the wise kings. And when Babylon during the Babylonian exile, when they drove out the Israelites to Babylon, Ezekiel was in that party, and they were very concerned. And there were three different groups. There was the ruling class of Israel that had sinned so much, of Judah that had sinned so much, of the church, the kings and the priests. And Ezekiel was one of them. And then there was the new ruling class that was built up in the land and was illegitimate and rebelled and got punished. And so one of the things Ezekiel promises is that these people will be punished. They're upstarts. And it was something very, because the true king and all his people were very humiliated. So they talked about that, and that's how you know that the land is not what it's about. And then the other thing is once that second ruling class that was propped up was then eliminated, then literally they gave the land to the poor, and that's who inherited the land in Israel. So it's very interesting. So that's Ezekiel 25. Today we're going to read Ezekiel 26. And hopefully Imitation of Christ. I bring it every day, and I usually forget to read it until I'm off stream and just trying to return to my prayers. I'm here making sure that I work, so I'm working like a slave in penance, and I have to get up and get going. So thank you for joining me. This is my work day. And it came to pass in the 11th year of the first day of the month that the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, because Tyre hath said of Jerusalem, Aha, the gates of the people are broken, she is turned to me, I shall be filled, now she is laid waste. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I come against thee, O Tyre, and I will cause many nations to come up to thee, as the waves of the sea rise up. I associate Tyre with England, actually, because it was an island nation, but it was a seafaring, trading, sort of mercantile nation. Tyre was, city-state. So it makes me think of England. I'm not saying that's hard and fast, but I'd just like to share what I think of that's relevant from these prophets. And they shall break down the walls of Tyre and destroy the towers thereof. And I will scrape her dust from her and make her like a smooth rock. She shall be a drying place for nets in the midst of the sea, because I have spoken it, saith the Lord God. And she shall be a spoil to the nations. Her daughters also that are in the field shall be slain by the sword. And they shall know that I am the Lord. For thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will bring against Tyre Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, the king of kings from the north, with horses and chariots and horsemen and companies and much people. Thy daughters that are in the field he shall kill with the sword, and he shall compass thee with forts, and shall cast up a mount round about, and he shall lift up the buckler against thee. And he shall set engines of war and battering rams against thy walls, and shall destroy thy towers with his arms. By reason of the multitude of his horses, their dust shall cover thee. Thy walls shall shake at the noise of the horsemen and wheels and chariots when they shall go in at thy gates, as by the entrance of a city that is destroyed. With the hoofs of his horses he shall tread down all thy streets. Thy people he shall kill with the sword, and thy famous statues shall fall to the ground. They shall waste thy riches. They shall make a spoil of thy merchandise, and they shall destroy thy walls, and pull down thy fine houses, and they shall lay thy stones and thy timber and thy dust in the midst of the waters. And I will make the multitude of thy songs to cease, and the sound of thy harps shall be heard no more. And I will make thee like a naked rock. Thou shalt be a drying place for nets, neither shalt thou be built any more, for I have spoken it, saith the Lord God. Thus saith the Lord God to Tyre, shall not the islands shake at the sound of thy fall, and the groans of thy slain, when they shall be killed in the midst of thee? Then all the princes of the sea shall come down from their thrones, take off their robes, cast away their broidered garments, shall be clothed with astonishment. They shall sit on the ground, and with amazement shall wonder at thy sudden fall. And taking up a lamentation over thee, they shall say to thee, how art thou fallen, that dwellest in the sea, renowned city, that wast strong in the sea, with thy inhabitants whom all did dread. Now shall the ships be astonished in the day of thy terror, and the islands in the sea shall be troubled, because no one cometh out of thee. For thus saith the Lord God, when I shall make thee a desolate city, like the cities that are not inhabited, and shall bring the deep upon thee, and many waters shall cover thee. And when I shall bring thee down with those that descend into the pit to the everlasting people, and shall set thee in the lowest parts of the earth, as places desolate of old, with them that are brought down into the pit, that thou be not inhabited, and when I shall give glory in the land of the living, I will bring thee to nothing, and thou shalt not be. And if thou be sought for, thou shalt not be found any more forever, saith the Lord God. Because they laughed at the fall of the church. That's why he pronounces that punishment against them. And I do think there must be significance in these things. I don't think they're directly. I mean, they're so layered and whatnot. There's almost been a recurring theme of this. Like Rome, I think of as Jerusalem, and in a lot of ways it is, and analogous. And Venice was an island city, and I've been reading about that in the history of user. It's very interesting. So, anyways, I'm just going to read Imitation of Christ. Let's see. Of yielding thanks to God for his many graces. This is probably not tolerable to you guys, though, because it's not on the screen. But I've only gone 7 minutes. It'll be fun. Why do you seek rest here, since you were born to labor? Dispose yourself to patience rather than to comfort, to bear the cross of penance rather than to have gladness. What man would not gladly have spiritual comforts if he could always keep them? Spiritual comforts exceed by far all worldly delights and all bodily pleasures. All worldly delights are either foul or vain, but spiritual delights are only joyful and honest, brought forth by virtue, sent by God into a pure soul. But no man can have such comforts when he would, for the time of temptation does not long delay. I'm going to read the rest by myself. God bless you. Thanks for joining me.